So yeah, we had a very uh, emotional as well as hilarious moment. Actually, we were lawyers for both the parties.
Okay.
So one was a very big political leader,
Okay.
and one was a very big media house.
Okay.
I don't want to name either of them,
Of course.
but many of them who would be knowing that how we are tracking, they would know that we are talking about which parties. So it became a very embarrassing situation because both the parties were right in their own perspective. But now, how to settle the matter? So we had one out of the court settlement discussions where they vented out their own anger on each other. But it did went to a sort of mediation. But we were feeling very embarrassed on that day. We were going to take side of whom, and then of course we were supposed to take some stand, but we refrained from taking a stand in favor of anyone. So sometimes this does happen that you may have a little bit conflict where you're representing either of the parties, or you may have represented earlier one party. So there, those times are very embarrassing moments, and sometimes very hilarious also, because you are knowing that one may be right and one may be wrong, and you're just sitting quiet without taking a stand.
So जीता कोई नहीं.
जीता कोई नहीं उसमें.
Meet Ameet Mehta, the managing partner of Solis's Lex, and I know him since long time. He's gone a long way through in last 16 years. So tell me something about your journey, Amit. आपकी journey कैसी थी पूरे उसमें आपके career में?
So I did my engineering from Pune University.
Okay.
I did it from Bharati Vidyapits. Then I did my trade management from Narsi Monji.
Okay.
Then I got an opportunity to do my MBA. So I did it from Leeds University in UK.
Okay.
Then I did my London Business School merger acquisition course. And then actually I did my law. So it was a very long journey and study for many years.
So from machines to marketing,
Yes.
and then to the courtroom.
Right.
What was that transition shift like? It was just natural or it was a calculative move?
No, it was natural, but what happened ki at every moment when you are passing through a phase in your career, sometimes you feel, I should have done that course also. So that, was one of the trigger points for me to go for MBA also, and also go for law. MBA, why? Because I was working in Middle East, and at that point of time I thought ki in Middle East, lots of people who are foreign educated were more heard about in the corporate world in Middle East especially. So I thought there was a need to do a graduation, post-graduation course from somewhere.
Right.
And then when I came back to India, I was there with a very big corporate house. And then I thought ki law is required every now and then. So actually I did law while I was still working with the organization. And while I was working with the organization, that actually the last course became my first profession.
Okay. So what do you want to tell the public here in India कि ये law तो सब पे लागू होना ही चाहिए for the betterment of the public?
Well, I think the present government is doing lots of changes. You would have seen the check bouncing cases have gone through a lot of changes. There's a lot of changes in the Arbitration Act, and you would have seen the criminal and civil code themselves has been renamed, and also lots of things are removed. Some things are obsolete now as per the law, because many of the laws were from the British time. But today I see that the changes which have come are the expectation of the people by and large. But I still feel that there could be a lot of further additions could have come if you add some things which are related to the fundamental rights of human being,
Okay.
a fundamental right of a citizen.
Okay.
So there could be some more changes or additions we can do to improve the fundamental rights of a citizen in the country.
Okay.
And that I think could be that someone may look at that as a committee, maybe a joint parliamentary committee who focuses on those aspects only, and then implement those changes.
ओके सो आजकल अभी नया जनरेशन जो भी है हम क्या करते हैं हमने पेज खोला टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस अग्री 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 एंड देन वी गो ऑन व्हाट डू यू वांट टू टेल देम दैट इज इट फाइन कि पढ़े बिना हम सब अग्री कर लेते हैं सोशल मीडिया में कुछ ऐसे प्रोटोकॉल है जो हमें फॉलो करने चाहिए
See, lots of things in social media are helping us also. That goes without saying. There are lots of awareness coming up.
राइट
But there are lots of self-declared university. So like example I am telling you, lots of things which are coming on WhatsApp. And we think that whatever has come is the right thing or is the truth.
Right.
But that may not be the fact. We many times make a joke, or it has come from the WhatsApp university.
राइट
So there are certain things that you may actually not be able to learn from social media. You need to go into the actual books and understand the points which are important from a career perspective also, and also from the awareness perspective as far as the knowledge is concerned.
Right.
So I think most of the things which are coming in social media are of course accepted by and large, but people need to go a little bit more detail and go into the books of those,
Right.
just to authenticate what exactly they are reading and what they are actually reading in the books is correct.
Right. So, do you want to say something on people misusing law very badly nowadays?
Of course, there is a fear in the minds of ordinary citizen always in every country, where uh, they don't want to go beyond a particular point and violate the law. But I think still people by and large, if they get slightest opportunity, they may violate a law.
Haan.
So example I'll give you. Let's take a simplest example of driving.
Okay.
So one is drink and drive, one is not wearing seat belts.
Right.
So if I'm going for a very short journey of just about a kilometer,
Right.
I may tend not to wear a seat belt.
Right.
बोले इतने के लिए कौन पहनेगा?
हाँ.
कभी कभी ऐसे भी होता है कि you see people go in bikes,
Right.
they don't wear helmets.
True.
Okay, पीछे वाला भी नहीं पहनता, आगे वाला भी नहीं पहनता है. बोलता अरे 2 गली तो आगे जाने गए.
Right.
तो इवन वो छोटा अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलेगा कि वायलेट कर तो लोग वायलेट कर देंगे.
Right.
Like example, let's take an issue of theft.
Hmm.
There is someone who has the attitude of stealing something.
Right.
उसको पता तो नेग्लिजेंस यहाँ पे कुछ होने वाला है नहीं, अगर अपॉर्चुनिटी लुक फॉर द अपॉर्चुनिटी. सो दीज थिंग्स आर इन लार्ज, दे आर बिल्ट इन बिल्ट इन द ह्यूमन बीइंग. इट्स अ ह्यूमन टेंडेंसी, एंड आई थिंक दैट goes on in every person.
Right.
So by and large, if you see people, they have the fear of the law, but at the same time, they would not lose the opportunity if they get a wire, they get an opportunity to violate the law also.
Right. So, especially women I'm talking about, उन्हें अपने rights के बारे में भी कुछ मालूम नहीं है ज़्यादातर. So what do you want to say about the literacy about law in people also, in women also, mainly because उन्हें अपने कुछ right के बारे में पता ही नहीं है. तो उसे कैसे literate करना चाहिए और उसे अपने आप को कैसे upgrade करना चाहिए studying their rights?
See, if you see the trend in India, let's take the history of the last 50 years. Let's take the example of the courts.
Right.
So in every 10 courts, there could be 1 or 2 women. In every 100 senior counsels, the senior advocates, there could be 500. So there is, even though we have now the women empowerment, which the Modi government has started on lots of issues, and there's lots of changes coming in, but still there is still the depth is required where women empowerment actually is getting converted into actual empowerment of women. I'll give 2 examples. So I go to courts regularly. So when there are arguments going on, I find that in every 10 there are only 2 women who are arguing.
Right.
In the court, if there are, let's say, example of Bombay High Court, so there may be about say 60 judges. Of 60, I would find there are only 10 are women judges. So that issue still remains.
Right.
But you see, there is a lot of sea change which has come in the last 10 years, especially in the 2 consecutive terms of Modi government, especially how women-oriented schemes are launched,
Right.
how women-oriented, let's take the example of toilets,
Right.
which the Modi government spearheaded.
Yeah.
So some things which I think which has to go at the grassroots level, which things are going on, but I think there's still lots of things to do.
So do you think the court is a little biased with the gender in the court, or it's strict or lenient for male and female, both?
No, the court will only see the arguments.
Okay.
That issue may not come. I'll tell you why. See, the law, studying law is by choice.
Right.
If I'm given opportunity to study, say, 10 courses, I may choose law. But maybe inclination of a woman necessarily going towards law may be lesser than a man.
Right.
So maybe 10 men, of the 10 men, 3 may choose law. But if of 10 women, maybe 1 may choose law or 2 may choose law.
Okay.
So it depends upon the choice also. It's by choice.
Right.
No one can force, neither can you take the person that you need to do this.
Right. So इतने सारे केसेस लड़े होंगे 16 साल में, तो कोई ऐसा केस जो आपको इमोशनली कैरिड अवे कर गया हो, कि आपको ऐसा लगा हो कि इसमें तो आपने बहुत ज़्यादा अपनी एनर्जी या अपना टाइम डाल दिया हो?
Yes, there is one case which is also going on now, where it is the mother versus the 4 children.
Oh.
So the mother is almost 85-year-old, and she has filed a case on the sons, and that's about a property dispute. And I am not going to go into the details of who is right and wrong.
Right.
I don't want to go into adjudicating the right and the wrong because the matter is still in the court. But that is a case which has touched me very emotionally, because there are 4 sons, and none of them are ready to compromise with the mother. And the father who had expired, he actually filed the case when he was alive. At that point of time, the mother and father both filed the case together. So there was a strong substance in the case against the children.
Okay.
But the way the case went on and the way it dragged on, it was very difficult for us to take that emotionally. How difficult it is for our parents who filed a case on children. The children are all in the age bracket of maybe 40 to 60, and the father mother were the age of 80 plus.
Okay.
So how difficult it is for them to fight a case, because even taking fees from those parents is very difficult for us to bill them.
Right.
How to bill them? Now, if I hire a counsel who may be expert in a particular subject, so then I need to tell that counsel this is the line of action and this is the line of argument. But they also will tell you have to pay our fees. How do we take those fees? So it's a very difficult and tricky situation sometimes that you have to take a stand, an emotional stand versus a legal stand versus a professional stand. So I think these are some very testing times when we find it very difficult when such cases comes to us.
तो बागवान जैसा सच्ची होता भी है मूवी जैसा.
It is. Recently, you would have seen in the papers also that High Court allowed the cancellation of a gift deed just because children were not taking care of the parents. So the parents had done a gift deed, registered a gift deed in favor of the children, but the children refused to take care of the parents.
Right.
So they went to the court, my children are not able to take care of it instead of me giving them the property.
Okay.
And then the court reversed the deed of gift.
Okay.
And then, told them whether if you're going to take care, then only this is better. Otherwise, we are going to cancel this
वरना
gift
gift
deed.
cancel कर देंगे.
Yes.
Okay. So we go a little off track. अमित मेहता के अंदर स्टाइल आइकन है.
Yes, of course, you would be aware that I was, you can say, co-producer in a movie.
Okay.
And I acted as a hero, but not a hero in a regular sense. The lawyers were the hero in the movie.
Okay.
It was between me and Ravi Kishan, where we both were lawyers in the movie. I was like a dumb lawyer from London, who was written from London, but fighting an Indian case.
Okay.
So how the Indian lawyers were making fun about a London lawyer who has come, and they are trying to trap him somewhere in the case.
Okay.
So that was a very hilarious movie.
Okay.
And then, of course, we did enjoy the shooting also because it was done somewhere during the COVID time. But at the same time, the message was very loud and clear because it had a very constitutional subject in that. Why the lawyers were the heroes? Because they are fighting for a case of a kidnapping.
Okay.
And then it also culminated into a majority versus minority of a ruling party.
Okay.
And why the subject which was chosen, the subject was chosen for, you can say, reversal of my vote.
Okay.
If the political party ditches me.
Okay.
So I voted for a ruling party who were majority, but the minority came and took over the government.
Okay. So it was a comedy.
It's a comedy type, yeah.
So lawyer or fashion, कैसे साथ साथ चलते? You have a typical dress to wear in the courtroom, but still एक lawyer को एक fashion कैसे वो अपने साथ लेके चल सकता है?
Yeah, so it is sometimes very difficult to wear that mask and go in the like movie scenes. But what happened? We were supposed to wear the same dress code of a lawyer in the movie also.
Okay.
So some of the scenes were of a lawyer, but there was 2 or 3 romantic situations where the lawyer is getting in love with another lawyer who is a lady lawyer.
Okay.
And then there was imaginary songs.
Okay.
So we were supposed to wear very fashionable clothes. And that was, I was finding it very embarrassing and difficult to digest that.
Right.
But of course in the movie you could see it's an imaginary song. But then that fashion icon and that fashion type of taste we need to develop.
Right. So सपने सच्चे होते हैं even dreams में हम कर सकते
Absolutely,
हैं.
absolutely.
ठीक है, अच्छी बात है. So I really want to ask you कि lawyers has a habit of speaking the same words again and again. Do you have some word which you keep on saying like a takya kalam of you?
Actually, I'm used to saying what nonsense.
Okay.
So I'm used to saying that many times because what happens? Something is not digestible. Even if you see some of my emails, I just write what nonsense.
Okay.
So I'm used to saying what nonsense is this?
So अभी अमित मेहता क्या करना चाहता है? Like you want to continue the same thing or what's your say now about you?
Yeah, so I'm trustee in couple of trusts also.
Okay.
We are doing a lot of social work, but through the our trust and also being a lawyer, we want to bring certain social changes which I haven't seen at the right time, we will do it at a higher platform.
Okay.
Though I am slightly connected with a political party, I also fought an MLC election in
Okay.
2018.
Nice.
But that was just at the beginning.
Right.
But at some point of time, I would be going at a higher platform
Right.
just to take certain social issues at a higher level.
Right. So, do you want to say something to a 20-year-old Amit Mehta कि आपने जो study struggle किया है उसमें से कुछ आपको बीच में skip करना है और do you regret something? What do you want to say to young Amit?
See, there is no shortcut to hard works.
Right.
Let's be very, very realistic. And let me tell you, there is no shortcut to the literacy levels.
Right.
There is no shortcut to knowledge, experience, and studies. It is rare case, 1 in 1 lakh or 2 into 1 lakh, where you would see that they are grown up or they have gone at a very high stages of their career. But most of the people who are at the good levels, you would say they are highly educated people. And that is very, very important because today the entire world is globalized.
Right.
You would see the American companies, the Japanese companies, the German companies all coming to India, the European companies, and Indians are competing with them. And to give an example, how globalized we are and what study takes you to,
Right.
there could be chances that the foreign law firms are going to come to India. So the competition is going to be directly between foreign law firms and Indian law firms. And the way we cope up and the way they cope up, the way we work, the way they work is very different. But today, with your globalization, like I can tell ki 20 things are Americanized.
Right.
So if you tell in your hand only there are 20 things which are American, you'll tell, oh, I don't think so. But I'll tell you, you may have an iPhone, you may have WhatsApp, you may have a Microsoft you're using, you may use Gmail, you may Google, you may use a Yahoo, and then you have apps, Netflix, Prime, Amazon Prime, Disney. See, you name it and it's there. Uber. See, you name it and it is there with you and it is American.
Right.
So, needless to say, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, which is X now,
Yes.
and then if you go further more, then big companies, Walmarts are here, those things. So you can see many things are Western in nature, Western countries. We are driven by technologies, and these all can come only because of studies. These all can come because of knowledge and experience. So if you're not educated, you need to go and aspire for higher ambitions, for higher objectives in life, and have a bigger vision in life.
Right. So, on a very lighter note, अगर आपको बॉलीवुड में से किसी को आप देख सकते हो कि ये लॉयर बन सकता है, आप किसका नाम लोगे?
I think Sunny Deol played a good role as a lawyer.
Yeah, तारीख पे तारीख.
Of course, that was a sort of a scene which was created,
Right.
but that was doing good
Right.
as a lawyer, and his role also was good. And I think he performed good as a lawyer.
Right. So there are so many questions, Amit, but we have very little time, so we'll do a little rapid fire round. Engineering, MBA, or lawyer, which helped you the most?
Lawyer.
Okay. Argument in the court, you win or you win the argument at home with wife?
It's very difficult to say.
You have to answer that.
Of course, at court.
In court, it's you. It's a very tricky question. So, what do you want to say? One law advice to the aspiring fashion designers?
I think law is just not the end of the the dream that one may want to achieve maybe. But I think apart from that, they should be more open to something beyond law. Fashion is one of them,
Right.
because that's something, it's an unimaginable level today, and there's no limit to it.
Right.
And I think travel.
Okay.
Travel, broadens your vision.
Right.
Travel broadens your ideas. Meeting more people really brings lots of culture change in you.
Right. So, one lie in law and one truth in law. What do you feel?
Of course, the truth in law, but what happens now? The lawyers are driven by the compulsions of their clients,
Right.
and you are helpless about it.
Right.
If given a choice between choosing the right and the wrong, obviously people will choose the right. But what happens if that person who is wrong, he comes to you? You may take it as a case to argue the matter. But a good lawyer would eventually tell his client, it's better to settle the matter
Right.
because you're wrong.
So, is it very difficult to argue in court or it is difficult to convince a client?
It is difficult to convince a client many times because, see, clients are driven by their own compulsions. you may have ego issues, you may have professional issues, you may have family issues. So you are compelled certain things because I can see as an outsider, but the person who is a client, he may be suffering due to various reasons. He's right or wrong, that's a different issue altogether.
Right.
But they are driven by their own compulsions.
Right.
So it's very difficult to convince sometimes client to tell, let's compromise.
Right. So now it's become very global, social media, and so much of marketing shifts. You have such a big firm, you have so many lawyers working for you. So, do you think marketing is very important in your case also? Or,
You see, Bar Council doesn't allow lawyers to market.
okay,
There are barriers to that.
okay,
But what happens now if a regular lawyer, he may be writing reports, he may be writing some write-ups in a newspaper, magazine, report. He may be fighting a case which gets reportable judgments.
right,
They are covered by the media. See, these are the only methods by which a lawyer can become a little more famous or maybe more known. But of course, marketing, of course, is not allowed by the Bar Council. But that is one of our objectives to go to the government and tell, "Ki, let it be allowed in India."
right. Then it helps you grow faster.
Faster.
True. So, abhi the audience is watching this. There must be so many young people जिसको lawyer बनना है. तो आपका say क्या है उसके लिए? Anything you want them to do or anything you don't want them to do?
See, I think two things they should do: go well prepared in the court, because there is no second chance.
Right.
It's like a operation by a doctor. There is no second chance. Once done, done. It's either successful or not successful. The same is about a lawyer. He doesn't get a second chance. You go to appeal, but that appeal is also final chance only. So first, you should be always well prepared. Second, knowledge, knowledge, and knowledge.
Right.
If you're not empowered with knowledge, you'll be thrown out, because competition is so stiff right now in every sector. You name it, and there is competition. So for you to get a upper edge, you need to be slightly better. You have to have some USP, which is better than others, which takes you to another level.
Right. On a very personal level, I'm asking you now. आपको पता है कि ये बंदा गलत नहीं है, लेकिन आप उसे बचा नहीं पाए, वो जा रहा है जेल में. ऐसी कोई situation हुई where you are helpless, but you can't help him?
Yes, because what happens ki we have seen 2-3 cases. Especially, I'll tell you, there was a New Year program about 3 years before, and teenagers were enjoying the party at night, and the case is still going on, in fact. But once you go through the entire incident, you come to know that one of them is innocent, and even though the person was innocent, she was arrested.
Okay.
These are very difficult times when you know then she is right and still she is arrested. So we have to fight it out. It's a different issue that we got the bail done.
Right.
Okay, but many times it is very difficult to save a client, because what happens now, everything is driven by evidence.
Right.
Evidence, witness, and all these things. So it is very difficult to understand sometimes and explain the client and explain the family of the clients
Right.
why we could not save. They know that we are doing the right thing, we are doing the best of our ability.
True.
But there are times where some things are driven by certain compulsions by the government also, by the police department, by the EOW, Economic Offence Wing.
Right.
And then, you are no option but to look at it and just let it go the way it is happening.
Right. So this was such an informative podcast, Amit. I hope everybody must have enjoyed this, and thank you so much being with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.